Welcome to Grey County Life at Home. And I am one of your hosts, Rhonda Brown, with the always adorable Mr. Charles. Good morning, Miss Mary Jane. How are you today?
Oh, good morning, Rhonda. Just fine. It's a beautiful February morning.
It is. And our viewers will notice that we are both coordinated today with some red on. And that is our little salute to Valentine's Day, which will be during the week of the airing of this show. And we hope that everybody has a lovely day. And whether you've got a significant other or not, treat yourself well. And if that means a cupcake from the Nutty Baker or Sugar Dust or Brigitte, somewhere, get yourself a little treat and enjoy. Oh, or Fresh Roots Cafe with the Canadian Mental Health Association. Their butter tarts are top notch. But Mary Jane, we have somebody on our first segment this morning with some important reminders. You want to introduce?
Yes, that's right. We have Pam Hellier, who is the Executive Director of Community Connections 211 for the Central East Ontario area. And February has a lot of landmarks in it, and this one is very significant. So Pam, welcome, and please tell us the connection between February and 211.
Happy to. Thank you for having me here today. The big news for our 211 in February is that we host 211 Day on the 11th day in that second month. So 211 is where that comes from. It's just an opportunity for us to really promote and get awareness out. So do you want?
Oh, please tell us about the services.
Okay. Yeah. So 211, I think for a lot of people aren't aware of how many 3-digit dialing codes there are actually. And so I appreciate the opportunity to tell about 211 and what makes us different than the others. So 3-digit phone numbers like 211 are allocated by the CRTC. So there is a list of them. 211's for public information referral. So that means connecting people to essential services they might need in their community, whether it's food, social programs, income assistance, things like that. In some of the bigger municipalities, they have 311, which is municipal government services. We don't have that in rural Ontario, just some of the bigger cities. So people do get confused, so we like to keep it straight. And I think most of us in a certain generation remember 411. Not everybody uses that anymore.
That's exactly what I was describing to somebody when they were asking, oh, who's on the show today? And I said, oh, we've got a representative to talk about 211. And I said, like 411 used to be where you'd call up if you needed a number. But I don't even know if that's in existence anymore.
I think it is, but I'm not sure how busy they are. And another number is we see on the side of our roads, 511. And that's for roads and traveler information. And I think people drive by and don't really realize that's a great service too. If you're traveling, particularly in winter months in rural Ontario, you want to know what is the status of those road conditions. So the 3-digit numbers are really useful for citizens to access important information. We all know about 911, of course, for emergency services. And I hope I'm not spilling the beans, but in the provincial government, it's going to be launching 811 in the very near future to access health information and health navigation support. So it's previously, currently it's for Telehealth Ontario, which has a 10-digit phone number that no one can remember. And by moving to 811, it makes it really easy for citizens to remember top of mind what to call. But again, it's really important for us to we work together to make sure that people aren't getting confused between what's health and what's general information and those kinds of things. So that's a new thing. And the 211 system here in Ontario, we call it 211 Ontario. There's 6 organizations that are connected with technology to provide the service to all of Ontario. So there's 6 call centers, and ours here in Collingwood. And we receive calls from all across Ontario. The calls flow across all 6 call centers. And our navigators rely on a robust database of all the services and programs. First, the calls from our local region come into the nearest call center first. So we do handle the majority of the calls from our local population. And then we have a team of staff that contact all the organizations and programs in the community on a regular basis to keep up to date. And we know in this pandemic time, there's been so many changes to services. It's really been challenging to keep up with, are they open? Are they closed? Are they partially closed? Are they partially open? And our team tries to keep up to date on all that. And that database is used by our navigators on the phone to find what's happening and what's going on in the community around those resources for individuals. And we also make that information available on websites, and both the United Way Information Bruce Gray site, and then the County of Bruce and Gray have Community Information Bruce Gray. And so there's different ways to access that same information online that our navigators are using to handle those calls. And so much going on. It's challenging to keep up.
One of the things is most people, whether they are in need of food security or accommodation, or they're homeless, or they're seeking information around the various services, most people have a cell phone. And 211 gets you through to whatever, be able to talk to a live person.
Yep.
And ask a question, and then there's a referral made after that.
That's right, and it's confidential. We don't need to know your name, so it's a safe place to call and say, I've run out of money for food, or I need winter jackets for my children. And we can explain the various programs and services that run in the community. And the Grey County area in particular have a lot of volunteers running lots of programs and donations and things. And sometimes it's hard for people to keep track. So when you call 211, you can call 24/7. Every day, we're always open. And you speak with a live navigator. We only hire living people, Mary Jane. And they'll just help talk through your problem and connect you to the most appropriate service in your community. We'll also do, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, Pam, you know what? We are going to be going to commercial, but we really appreciate you coming on to remind us all about the...
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
What kind of show do you want to see on Rogers TV? What interests you? Log on to rogerstv.com, fill out a show proposal, and tell us about your segment idea. We want to know what you want to see. Rogers TV, only on Rogers.
Welcome back to Grey County Life at Home with your hosts, Rhonda Brown and Mary Jane Murray and Mr. Charlie Brown. And Mary Jane, we have another guest on the show.
We do, and we're so pleased to have Rebecca Holton. And she is a staff lawyer with the Grey Bruce Community Legal Clinic. And she is working on a very specific program, and that's funded through the Department of Justice Canada. And welcome, Rebecca, and tell us more about the program that you're working with.
Well, thank you very much for having me. So as you mentioned, the project that we're working on is called the Sexual Harassment in the Workplace Prevention Project. We often refer to it as the SHIW project for short, so SHIW being the acronym. And also, as you mentioned, it is funded by the Department of Justice at the Government of Canada, who has, they've recognized that workplace sexual harassment is a significant problem. So they've allocated $50 million in funding over a 5-year period to various social service agencies all across the country, including our clinic, the Grey Bruce Community Legal Clinic. This funding helps these agencies promote sexual harassment in the workplace prevention, knowledge, education, awareness, and in the case of legal clinics like ours, legal representation and advice. So our clinic's approach to sexual harassment prevention is three-pronged. We want to raise awareness of sexual harassment in the workplace as a problem. We want to provide education on how the law aims to prevent this problem. And 3, we want to offer advice to people who've experienced the problem. So we also can, in some cases, offer full representation as lawyers in SHIW cases if the person does meet our financial eligibility criteria. So in terms of the awareness piece, we want people to be aware that sexual harassment in the workplace is a widespread issue. It affects close to 1 million Canadians, and that was based on a 2016 survey. And the evidence demonstrates that this number has grown since then and continues to grow even during the pandemic. So this is something that we want to put a stop to so that people don't feel unsafe or uncomfortable at work, because obviously many people spend a great deal of time at work, and the time that they spend there should feel safe to them. So it is a problem that occurs across workplace sectors. It can affect anybody of any gender, but the demographic that is the most affected is young women. So young women for the purposes of this survey was age 18 to 24. Now I'm almost 42. As far as I'm concerned, I'm still a young woman, but maybe that's only in my own mind.
Well, we consider anyone under the age of 80 as a young person. So the age range thing changes. But I think what's happened is that the comments of the past were accepted as the norm and wasn't labeled as sexual harassment, even though it may have made someone feel uncomfortable in their workplace. It was just kind of brushed aside. So times have really changed, but attitudes and comments haven't necessarily kept up to date.
That's very much true. When we think of sexual harassment in the workplace, I think the average person often has almost a sort of a stereotypical view of it. They think back to an old sitcom where the cigar chomping boss might make the secretary squeal, and then the laugh track goes off. And of course that does happen, but the statistics show that most sexual harassment in the workplace actually involves customers or clients harassing employees. It does unfortunately happen by bosses and managers, and there's actually a special provision in the Ontario Human Rights Code which states that it is illegal for somebody in a position of power to make unwanted advances or even advances that might reasonably be known to be unwelcome toward a worker. But it does not have to be boss on employee. It can be customer on employee. It can be between coworkers. There's a very broad umbrella of what sexual harassment in the workplace can actually entail. So you're mentioning about how times have changed and what previously might not have been thought of as sexual harassment is now recognized as such. So one example that's come up in the media is locker room talk. So making vulgar comments about somebody, about their body, about their appearance, whether or not that person works there, or whether it's just an image of somebody in a magazine or on a website, that can fall under that sexual harassment umbrella. The umbrella also covers leering, staring, invading somebody's personal space, telling vulgar jokes, anything that might reasonably be expected to make somebody feel uncomfortable. That's all covered under this broad umbrella of sexual harassment. And obviously there are degrees of seriousness. A single comment may not be enough it might warrant a warning or a talking to, or even a please stop that makes them uncomfortable, but it might not necessarily give rise to a human rights claim. But where there is a pattern of conduct or comment, that is much more likely to be considered sexual harassment, for which there is a legal remedy available.
So if someone is not really sure whether or not they have a valid complaint that actually warrants legal action, can they just contact you at the legal clinic for a consultation to see, or to have a better understanding of where the land is in terms of what they need to do going forward?
Absolutely. We can provide summary advice to anybody who calls us, regardless of financial qualifications. We can give them direction on the options that are available to them, whether or not what they experienced falls under that legal heading of sexual harassment in the workplace. We can help them, for example, prepare if they want to file a claim on their own, or in some cases, if they do meet our financial eligibility criteria, we can represent them in their case. But even if somebody just thinks they may have experienced it, we welcome a call from them, and we're always happy to give advice and give direction.
So do you actually give them strategies on how to shut it down if it's not something that needs to go forward legally? Are there strategies to try and shut it down first before further action is taken?
Yes. So I have something I call the 4 R's, and they are so record. We encourage people to record all the details of what happened, date, time, what was said, who said it, were there any witnesses, how did the witnesses react. Recording, we encourage that in every case. We also say that you can, if the person feels comfortable doing so, they can rebuff. They can say that made me uncomfortable, please stop. And often that's all it takes. Sometimes the person doesn't know that their comments have made somebody uncomfortable, and they'll just say, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize, and that's the end of it. And really that's the ideal situation, the one that we're hoping for. If not, then if the person, again, if they feel comfortable doing so, they can report it. So report is the 3rd R. They can speak to their supervisor or manager, because an employer does have a positive duty under the law to make sure their workplace is safe. So they do need to investigate a complaint of sexual harassment and take appropriate action. And the 4th R is resources. So we do encourage people to take advantage of the resources that are available to them. There's the Ontario government has a website, and there's a great clinic in Toronto called the Human Rights Legal Support Center that people can call. But if they're in Grey Bruce, we absolutely encourage them to contact us, because we're happy to give them advice and direction.
Now, during the pandemic, there's always been services that are closed, partially open, open for periods of time. So is the legal clinic at this point accessible to make an appointment and drop in, or are you doing it mostly through Zoom calls or phone calls?
We do ask people to call at this point to make an appointment if possible. However, if someone does drop in, we have reopened the office, just making sure that we're taking appropriate precautions with masking, sanitizing, distancing, and so on. So people are welcome to come by if that's what's easier for them. Although a call is always helpful if possible.
Well, I had to access the legal clinic as a support person for someone else. And you had this wonderful array of pamphlets in the reception area that people could pick up resources on a variety of topics, sexual harassment being one of them. Is that still available, or did that have to kind of close down through the pandemic part and have those pamphlets removed?
No, we still do have the pamphlets available. And this, I've actually brought one with me. This is a fantastic one on sexual harassment in the workplace. It was put out by one of our sister clinics, the Northumberland Community Legal Center in Coburg. They're sort of spearheading the SHU initiative for Ontario. But we have plenty of these in English and French, and they give a tremendous amount of very, very valuable information. So if people would like to come by and pick up one of those, or even if they would like them mailed to them, then we welcome calls, and we're happy to send them out.
Because I think for some, perhaps young girls who really aren't quite aware of what's going on and just feeling uncomfortable, might just want to drop in and pick up a pamphlet first before they take that next step.
Yes, absolutely. They're very welcome to do that at any time.
Well, the legal clinic has been our great resource within our community, and having to be a support person for someone who needed to access your services. It was absolutely terrific. And this was a few years ago, before, certainly before the pandemic or any of this was going on. But we really see the legal clinic as an essential resource in our community.
Well, thank you. It's wonderful to hear. And we believe, of course, that we are an important resource. There are many, many people in Grey Bruce who are experiencing the kinds of problems that we can help with. For example, income support, housing. We're seeing more new Canadians who may need help with immigration issues. Sexual harassment in the workplace is unfortunately something that's growing. Wrongful dismissals, things like that. Even wills, we're doing a little bit more with wills and powers of attorney. So we're very, very happy to provide guidance on topics such as those, and in some cases we can offer representation. So
if someone has a connection to our community, say a daughter or granddaughter who's maybe outside this community, are they permitted to call your office to get some advice? Strictly regional. It generally is regional. If the person lives outside of our catchment area, what we would do is refer them to one of our sister clinics. And there is a clinic that serves each area of Ontario. But we're happy to, we can sometimes provide summary advice to somebody if they have a relative in another catchment area. But if it's a little bit more than that, then we would most likely refer them out to one of the sister clinics. And we would do our best to make sure that that person always has access to advice.
So what I'm hearing, and I'm hoping I've got this correct, you have sort of 3 levels of service here. You have, the walk in and pick up the pamphlet service. You have the consultation service, but if you need legal representation, you needed to meet a financial criteria?
Yes, we do serve low-income people. They that's what our clinic is primarily funded for by Legal Aid Ontario. So for full representation, we would have to ask some questions to make sure that the person's income fell below our maximum income threshold. And that varies based on the person's family size, their circumstances, assets they hold, and so on. So and there is a little bit of discretion in some cases where we can help somebody who might fall slightly outside of that income threshold if they meet other criteria. But the best thing somebody can do if they have questions is just give us a call, and we can let them know what services we are able to offer to them.
And your location, because in years past, when I was working with groups of people, I would ask them, where is the legal clinic? And they couldn't identify the location.
So we are in it's called the professional building. It's the same building as Life Labs, which helps a lot of people. The building next to the one where the post office is located. That's something though that other people often find helpful. But again, if they are having a hard time finding it, if they can give us a call, and we're happy to provide directions to legal directions and physical directions.
Well, that's a great service, because sometimes people think that the legal clinic is in the courthouse, which is at the top of the hill. But the legal clinic is actually downtown,
yes,
centrally located, within walking distance or within bus routes, that sort of thing, which was a really good strategy if you are looking for folks, or if folks are looking for you. It's in that downtown on Third Avenue East. 3rd Avenue East.
It's we want to make sure that we are as accessible as possible to as many people as possible. So we have a downtown location, as you say, that is accessible by bus, by taxi. Our office is also fully accessible. So a person using a wheelchair or any other kind of mobility aid, we want to make sure that we're accessible to those folks as well.
That's fantastic. I would think as well, I don't know if you're aware, but we did have Pam Hellier on discussing 211 in our community. And I would think that if people dial 211, they would get a referral to your services.
Yes.
And get the contact information. So it's a lot easier to remember 211 and go from there.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. Well, Rebecca, thank you so much for coming on today to give us some information about sexual harassment in the workplace and the services that you provide and the education. It is so important.
Thank you very, very much for having me. It was an absolute pleasure.
Well, we'll have to have you back.
Yes.
Glad to come.
Excellent. Well, we will be.
Leonard Thompson, 13 years old, diabetes mellitus, 65 pounds.
Starve the child to let them live? The treatment's as cruel as the disease. It's a death sentence.
Dr. Banting.
This could be it.
He's the first to receive this trial.
But will it save him?
It's not pure enough.
So we try again. And again. And again.
Before the discovery of insulin, diabetes was a death sentence. Banting, Best, Collip, and MacLeod's breakthrough has saved millions of lives. Leonard Thompson's was the first.
Hi, I'm Thomas Shade, a right wing with the Owens and Attack. Go behind the scenes with your favorite team on Attack Rap every Tuesday on Rogers TV.
Every year, dozens of Canadians are killed or seriously injured because they take risks around railway tracks. Talk to your loved ones about rail safety. Visit stoptracktragedies.ca.
Welcome back to Grey County Life at Home. We've got Charlie, who's looking incredibly chilled considering that, we are in the middle of February and it's cold out there, but he's actually pretty laid back these days. I don't know what's going on. But we are going to talk to Stephanie out at Grey Roots, Mary Jane.
We are, and we always at Grey Roots and Stephanie are frequent flyers on Grey County Life, and we always know that there's something going on at Grey Roots Museum. They're always busy, even if they're not open. But as I mentioned at the top of the show, February has so many landmarks, and one of those landmarks is that it's Black History Month. And Grey Roots has an incredible online exhibit to explore Black history, Black Canadian history in our local area. But we have Stephanie McMullen, who is the volunteer and village coordinator with us today, and she's wearing a hockey shirt.
I am, in fact. I am wearing my very own hockey jersey. For our Sunday morning ladies hockey league. So just in the spirit of talking about hockey today, I decided to wear my own jersey, but we did a sniff test before I brought it in today.
So tell us about the exhibit, because not only is it about hockey, but it does tie in a little bit to Black history.
It does. Grey Roots reopened on February 1st. And with our reopening, we have not one, but two hockey exhibits on offer here. We have a traveling exhibit called Hockey from the Canadian Museum of History. And it explores big themes about the history of hockey. Where did it come from? Who played? What were some big moments in the development of hockey and in hockey broadcasting? So there's some neat interactives with that exhibit. And as I say, it covers hockey from coast to coast. So it's really interesting that way from a broad perspective. And we've supplemented that with an exhibit called The Good Old Hockey Game. And it focuses on local hockey. So it looks at local hockey teams over the years, local championships, minor hockey, and some of the diversity that Grey County has shown in hockey. Hockey has been a little bit slow historically to adapt to our ethnic realities, but locally we have had some pretty amazing local players. Herb Carnegie, a lot of people know, played for the Owen Sound Mercuries in the 1950s. And in modern times, I'm sure many people are aware of some of the amazing players that the Attack and the Owen Sound Platers have had over the years. And we are featuring a couple of future stars from Grey County, one of whom is Aidan Yard, who is from Owen Sound and was drafted by the Attack in 2019. He currently plays for the Elmira Sugar Kings, and he is local and he has great skill, but he's also a leader. He has dealt with some unfortunate things over the years, but he has risen above it and really helped younger players coming after him too.
Well, I think that diversity in hockey is absolutely essential because it is reflective of our citizens and our country. And it's good to see that it is integrated into our local hockey. But I think this is a hockey town. You talk hockey.
Yeah, it's, to be honest, we could fill up this whole building with hockey stories from Grey County. That's how much we love our hockey here.
Well, I know hockey was a big part. Having three sons, hockey was a big part of our Saturday, Sunday, and practices and games and things like that. So within our own family, we have a few hockey stories, as well as my husband used to play with Ken Dryden and Tim Ecclestone in his early years too. So hockey is a big deal. But you also were talking about our local history with hockey. And now, am I corrected? Did a young Suzuki player play for in our area, the Platers?
He played for the Owen Sound Attack.
Oh, okay.
He is one of the bright stars with the Canadians now. And we feature some equipment and some photos of Nick Suzuki here. He was very popular when he played here.
Yeah, huge.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
Little guy, but carried big.
It's good to see them go on and follow their dream to the next level.
It's the really neat thing to see somebody come, either be from here or spend time here and then go on and live their dream. And it's been really interesting to read interviews with them about how their time here helped shape them.
Oh, it absolutely does. And you know what? It's kind of like when you, and you'll have experience with this, if you're a Girl Guide leader or brownie or scouts or a music teacher, and you see these little people grow up and then you see them out in the community, you feel connected to these people and you feel, like you go, kid, go spread your wings and be spectacular. And it's awfully nice to feel that about all of our hockey players. When you're watching the Attack game, when you're there every game, it's hard not to feel that connection with these guys.
You're absolutely right. It's the thing that at minor hockey levels with junior A, you're able to really make that connection with the kids and see them grow into hopefully people who are able to live their dreams on the ice and off.
Mm-hmm. And we certainly do honor our hockey players. Look at the Harry Lumley Bay Shore. It's I think we're a very proud group of people here.
We are. And the neat thing about Harry Lumley too is that he remains the player with the longest career in the NHL from Grey County, but Chris Neal is right behind him.
Well, you know your stuff, Stephanie, having to research and put all these exhibits together. So when can people drop by to see them?
We're open from Tuesday to Saturday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. We have lots in the exhibit for people to see and to read and enjoy, but we also have lots of hands-on stuff. There's road hockey, mini sticks, air hockey, table hockey. There's a trivia contest that you can win a box seat at the Attack. We've got lots of stuff to do as well as to see. So I think for every hockey fan in your household, there's going to be something they're going to have fun with.
Oh, well, that sounds terrific. I'm sure the whole family would really enjoy that adventure. But I also know that there's more things going on at Grey Roots Museum. And I understand the general store for the Morristown Village is under construction.
It is. That project is progressing nicely, and I think people are going to be really impressed and given just a wonderful sense of nostalgia, because general stores aren't that far in our past. It's enclosed now. We're working on the interior. A lot of time has been spent to make it really feel like, although it's a reproduction building, make it really feel like a general store from Grey County in the 1920s. And so we're hoping to be ready to open it for the public for the 2023 season. Maybe even having a little sneak peek this fall.
Well, I don't know. Do you think Rhonda and I have a bit of an in with you to get that sneak peek?
I think we might be able to work something out, yes.
I like the way you think, Mary Jane.
Well, now our communities are starting to open up, and some of the restrictions are starting to relax a little bit. We may be still wearing masks, but with the museum becoming wide open, shall we say, coming up this spring and summer and into the fall, will you be needing volunteers?
We would love to have more volunteers to bring Morrison Heritage Village to life. We've got a number of buildings, so I'm sure we can find a time period and a lifestyle to suit anyone who is interested.
So how many volunteers do you actually need? Do you actually need to keep the museum running in very smoothly and everything's going okay?
Pardon me, it's not COVID. I'm just not in my office, so I don't have my water.
Don't feel bad. Everybody, as soon as you have a sniffle or a cough, you're in the grocery store and you feel like your throat's getting dry. You're thinking, oh my gosh, everybody's going to be looking at me thinking I've got COVID.
I know, you just want to apologize to everyone you see.
Yeah.
We have 7 buildings. We have 7 days a week that we're open in the summer months. So, and 2 shifts per day. So ideally, if we had about 84 people, that would make sure that every shift is covered and everybody only needs to do 1 shift a season or 1 shift a week. But we do have people who love it and want to do more than 1 shift. And with our numbers right now, we're very happy to accommodate that.
Oh, well, that's great, because anytime, or every time I should say, that we've been there, the volunteers have been very knowledgeable and very helpful. And I just love the way that they have this really great manner in which they can engage young children into conversation.
Our volunteers are an absolutely amazing group in the village. They're all so friendly and personable and invested both in sharing the history authentically and ensuring that the visitors feel engaged and feel like they've had a great time. The group of them have this incredible ability to share information. So at the end, you've learned something you didn't know before, but it doesn't feel like you were studying for a test or anything. It just came so organically to you. They're a really great group of people.
So there must be some training that goes along with each. I mean, a volunteer would be assigned to one of the buildings and then learn about all the history and the artifacts within that building. So there must be some training that goes along with that.
Absolutely. We provide the training in the historical information. We can provide volunteers with all of that. We do provide that narrative for them. Really, we're looking for people who are friendly and who like to meet people. In the past, it's been people from all over the world, but again, the last couple of years, it's been more local people, but that's been really fun in a different kind of way.
Well, I think there's always a great benefit of the staycation idea when you use your local community as your vacation experience, because often we don't do that. We always feel we need to travel somewhere else to learn about what's happening. But knowing more about your own local community really not only increases your knowledge, but also makes you more appreciative of the area in which you live.
I know just anecdotally and talking to visitors over the last couple of years that this is their first time coming to Grey Roots, because when you live locally, you always think, oh, I can do that next weekend, and next weekend never actually comes. And people have shared with us that, now I understand why this is the way it is, or this place has this name and who lived here. And it just helps you feel more connected to where you live.
Absolutely. Now, when I would think if you buy a family pass, you get access to other museums as well.
That's right. Our family pass is an incredible deal. It's $60 plus tax. It has been $60 for a family membership since Grey Roots opened in 2004. I don't think you can find too many other things that are the same price now as they were in 2004. But not only does it give you access to Grey Roots, all of the exhibits, the spaces, Morstan Village, but it gives you access to our partner museums as well. Bruce County, Simcoe, Huron, the Waterloo Regional Museum. So for $60, you're not just getting Grey Roots, but you are getting the opportunity to visit sites all over our region.
That is incredible. And I mean, like you say, $60, gee whiz, you can't take a family of 4 out for dinner for $60 practically. You know, it's insane out there. So that is a fantastic deal.
It is. I have taken my kids to the movies, and by the time we get in the movies and buy popcorn and everything, I've definitely spent that much and more.
And that's only a one-off. And
exactly.
That's not repeated, several times a year.
Exactly.
Gosh, is there anything else that you'd like to tell us? I think we have a couple more minutes, don't we, Rhonda?
You almost, yeah. 1 minute.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. We are we've transitioned several of our exhibits over the last year or two online as well, so that people can access them. So our First World War Veterans exhibit is available online, and we are still adding people to it as people are able to share photos of their loved ones who served. So that exhibit is always growing and becoming more comprehensive. We also have added our Coughs and Sneezes exhibit to an online experience. It is an exhibit that is about the Spanish flu and how that happened in Grey County and how we dealt with it in Grey County in 1918, and draws some interesting comparisons and parallels to how we've dealt with our current pandemic too.
Well, it'll be interesting in 2118 to go back and say, this is what COVID looked like in Grey Bruce, you know, and we're living history right now. Well, thanks, Stephanie, so much for coming on and telling us all about Grey Roots and what's happening right now and our fantastic hockey. That it sounds like a really great way. Don't forget to join us on Grey County Life at Home next week.
With the rugby and the red plaid shirt.
Sometimes, for a wish to come true, it takes a kingdom, because together we're stronger. Tied tight, united we stand, in honor of one child's wish, to fuel the fire that will grant many more. Join the kingdom.
It isn't the heavy trays that make the job difficult, or the fast pace you need to keep up. It's not working another double because someone called in sick. What makes the job tough is the moment you realize a customer has had enough, and you have to make that decision not to overserve. Refusing service isn't personal, it's the law. We know it's not easy, but we're counting on you to keep us all safe. Thank you, servers, for doing the tough job.
Hi, I'm Colby Barlow. I'm a right winger with the Owen Sound Attack. Get great OHL action on Rogers TV as we bring you Owen Sound Attack games live, both home and away.
Welcome back to Grey County Life at Home. We have the wonderful Renee with the Adorable Adoptables segment. And my goodness, this, I don't know if this is a boy or a girl, but adorable is just, I don't even know if that's a good enough word for this creature. Who is this?
This is Ruby, and Ruby is a 1-year-old Chihuahua. Hello, thank you.
Did you say Ruby?
Ruby.
Oh, Ruby. Oh my gosh, that's adorable. Yes. Oh, wow.
Now, Ruby is something called a deer head Chihuahua. And this is why she doesn't look like your typical little Mexican dog we often see. She's a little bit bigger than your average Chihuahua, but still pretty teeny tiny. As you can see, she fits quite comfortably in my lap. She is 1 year old and she's been absolutely spoiled. So Ruby's extra sad being here at the shelter. So we're spending a lot of time together, a lot of cuddling, and she's looking for a home that she can slide right into to get the heck out of here. Now, Chihuahuas tend to be a little extra sensitive. They turn into little big dogs, we'll call them, when they get stressed out. So they can be a little bossy, a little guardy, a little snappy. I mean, people who love Chihuahuas, and people who hate Chihuahuas, and I fit somewhere in between. I find when they first come in, we don't like each other very much, but as time goes on, we become buddies, as you can see. So with Ruby's adoption, we are recommending that somebody take some time to get to know her. She's probably not going to like you right off the top. She's going to be afraid of you. She's going to try to hide from you, and she might be a little nippy because this is what Chihuahuas do. But she, as you can see, will certainly work that out and become your best little buddy. We would prefer she goes to an older home, but when I say that, I need to remind people that a Chihuahua lives to be 17, 18 years easily, so you've got a big commitment with this one. She's only a year old. So when I say older, that's something that needs to be kept in mind, and the only reason I'm suggesting older is that she's going to be scared of children. She's going to be scared of teenagers coming and going. A busy house will not be best suited to her. So perhaps if you have a quieter house, maybe your children are older and are out of the house, or maybe you don't have kids, that would be all okay. So older is not necessarily the age of the person I'm referring to. I mean a quieter home. She would be perfect in any situation, apartment or home, as long as she's got somebody home with her. She doesn't particularly love to be alone. As I said, she's been a little spoiled. She would love somebody who's maybe working from home, or somebody who works part-time, or who could take her with them. I mean, she would absolutely fit in a little doggy bag or in a backpack, and she could be her own little pocket pup. She would absolutely enjoy that. I mean, and it's a comfort buddy for somebody as well. So the older part is more about older children, not necessarily older people. Again, not that we don't think that older people are okay. I just need you to consider the fact that you might need to think about the long term with her, right? Because you got a lot of life left in you. Yes, you do.
Well, she does have these very sad eyes when she first came on the screen. So if those sad eyes are going to melt your heart, you'll be bonding pretty quickly with her.
Absolutely. Is she melting your heart? I know you need a dog.
I was going to say, I think Mary Jane has a lovely quiet spot that Ruby would probably slip right in there.
Oh, yes, but I do have to take in consideration those 5 grandchildren that do appear occasionally.
Yeah,
so,
she would hide under the bed for sure.
Oh, yes.
Now, what would she be like, Renee, with a larger dog or other animals in the house?
She is afraid of them, but she is not aggressive towards them. She's met a few dogs here at the shelter. She runs from them because, I mean, they're overwhelming. But at the same time, no teeth are being shown. She's not growling. She's just making an exit. Definitely Yeah, she's just getting the heck out of there. Exactly. So she can most certainly work that out, as long as you have a bigger dog that is maybe a little less rambunctious, only because it would be a little bit more time to have them adjust, but it is absolutely possible that they could work that out. She is good with cats. Again, afraid of them. They're bigger than her, and if they challenge her, she's going to run from them. She makes an exit. That's what she does. And same with the children. She doesn't like them, she'll make an exit. So, I mean, no aggression that way. It's just an easier transition if they weren't there, but it can be easily done. It's a bit of a process. And I think with this little lady, it's going to be a little process with absolutely everything you do. So we need a home who's patient. I don't want you taking her home and being like, oh no, she hid under my couch, and to bringing her back, because that would just make things a whole lot worse. I'd rather you spend some time with her here, got to know her, got to love her, so that those sort of things can be worked out. Because, I mean, the reality is once you fall madly in love, you live with just about anything when you've got the right match, right? I mean, it's true.
Don't we?
It's true. We've all done it. I mean, what do you do? Just eat the toilet paper again? It's okay. I love you, right? The idea is to make that happen first. Hi. All right.
Well, I do need to check in with you to see how Chinook is doing.
Well, she's still with me, but she has an adoption pending, and I'm hoping that maybe by tomorrow she will be in her new home. They've come to meet her a few times. It's working out well. Hearts crossed. Everybody send vibes that it works out. They're meeting her later again today, so we're hoping.
Well, there's such a difference between a husky and a Chihuahua. So you really have to know and understand the idiosyncrasies of each of the breeds.
It is. And it's important that when you have something you're looking for, that you reach out to the people at the shelter or to somebody who has some knowledge, because the reality is one might be a better match than the other, and you might not even be aware of that yourself. I mean, Chinook, not good with small animals. Certainly these two couldn't go together. And perhaps if you have one at home, a smaller animal, someone more like this would be better suited. I mean, and the energy levels are different, as you mentioned. The amount of cuddling they do is different. The acceptance of other animals, dogs and children, and all of those sort of things are very different too. So, I mean, we are always available for people who are not sure who they want to adopt. Maybe you're a first-time pet owner, and certainly reach out to us because we can certainly direct you in the right way. Puppies are generally better for tiny little children, but in saying that, that's a whole lot of work too. So again, it's a bit of a process, right? Right.
Well, one of the things that I really value so much about the Owen Sound Animal Shelter, Renee, and you yourself, is how much time and care you take in placing the animals. It's not just in and out. You spend a lot of time, a lot of training, a lot of assessment. And I do believe that if you didn't think that it was going to be a good match, that you wouldn't make it. Because it's really important for you to make sure that the animal is going to a home that's going to work for them, as well as the family is going to work for the animal.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
I did it.
I need it. Here, I gave it.
And I am alive.
As an organ donor, you can save up to 8 lives and enhance the lives of 75 others. Please go to our website. Pledge a gift of life. You'll be glad you did.